All right, now we are in the in the verse 5. And let's start with mantra. Om Vang me manasi pratishthitam mano me vachi pratishthitam aviravirma edhi Vedasyama ani stha shrutam me ma prahasihi anena dhitena horatran samdadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu Avatu mam, avatu vaktaram, avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. All right. So we here in verse number 5. Vishrayantam urvia huyamana dvaro devih suprayana namobhih suprayana namobhih vyachasvatih viprathantam ajurya varnam punana yashasam suviram. May the divine doors swing open wide to our call, easy of approach with our prostrations and surrender. May they stretch wide, opening into vastnesses. The imperishable doors, purifying the glorious and the heroic kind. My interpretation, may the divine portals open wide to our call to move easily forward with our surrenders. Expansive, may they spread and eternal, purifying the varna and glory of a perfect hero. Who are these portals, goddesses, or doors divine? Usually Devi are the rivers in the Rig Veda. These are the streams, the currents. They are also the doors, the entries. So they open the heavenly entry with their reaching out, with their breaking through, as it were. It's nowhere it is being defined what are they, but Sri Aurobindo comments on them interestingly here, and we will read some of his quotations from his Secret of the Veda. From above that ocean sends downward its rivers of the light and truth and bliss, even into our physical being. Thus, in images of the physical nature, the Vedic poets sing the hymn of our spiritual ascension. In the hymn of first mandala 72:8, speaking of them, of the rivers, in the phrase which is applied to the rivers in other hymns, he says, the seven mighty ones of heaven, placing aright the thought, knowing the thought, discerned in knowledge, the doors of felicity. These are evidently, says Sri Aurobindo, the rivers of heaven, the streams of the truth, goddesses like Saraswati, who possess the truth in knowledge and open by it the doors of beatitude to the human creature. The opening doors of our divine home are the doors of felicity, Rayodurah. The divine doors which swing wide open to those who increase the truth, Ritavriddha, and which are discovered by us, for us by Saraswati and her sisters, by the seven rivers, by Sarama. So these doors are discovered by the streams, or they are identified with the streams breaking through, opening for us the entry into the heavenly realms. It's quite interesting that they are also Devi, they are the goddesses. The doors, the divine doors. These divine rivers and doors are throughout the Veda, everywhere, but mainly in the Aparisuktas, and mainly in this position. After we mentioned the Tvashtar, we mentioned already the Barhis. After Barhis, we have these divine doors. And then Sadhu Apansi Sanata na Ukshite Usha Sanakta Vaya Iva Ranvite Tantum Tatam Samvayanti Samichi Yajnasya Peshach Sudughe Payasvati. Sadhu apansi sanatana ukshite. Sri Aurobindo translates in this way: milk cow, good milk is pouring out on us, may, night and dawn. The eternal and equal sisters come like weaving women full of gladness, weaving out the weft that is spun, the weft of our perfected works into a shape of sacrifice. The night and dawn are compared to two weavers, weaving women, who are weaving one thread, tantum tatam. Tantum the thread, tatam spread, samvayanti, they weave one thread spreading forward, samichi, together. Yajnasya peshach, the form of the sacrifice, sodughe payasmi, creating this tapestry of the sacrifice. The perfect and eternal deeds they accomplish for us. It's my interpretation. I translate literally. Dawn and night as two happy weaving women. They weave perfectly the thread pulled in the same direction. The embroidery or tapestry of sacrifice. The two milk cows full of milk. I took one quotation from the Secret of the Veda, what Sri Aurobindo writes, but this great work is to be done according to the ordered gradation of the truth in its fixed seasons, by the 12 months of the sacrifice, by the divine year of Surya Savitri. Therefore, there is a constant rhythm and alternation of night and dawn, illuminations of the light and periods of exile from it, openings up of our darkness and its settling upon us once more, till the celestial birth is accomplished, and again till it is fulfilled in its greatness, knowledge, love, and power. So this is the way forward. We cannot proceed because we are growing into light. we take unto ourselves the darkness and bring it to light. We bring the light into the darkness constantly. And so this has to be done. That's why we have day and night. We have the state of awakened consciousness and wakeful consciousness and sleep. We fall asleep every day. We go into night. We bring everything we accomplished during the day into our subconscious and inconscient even. We bring all our achievements into it. Yeah? And then we again start a journey. Every time we do the same until we arrive at new birth, celestial birth, here in this body. I have a huge article on this, on night and dawn from the Veda, with all the quotations and references from Savitri. Sri Aurobindo is using a lot from Savitri, in Savitri from night and dawn. Most probably you know about this. Yeah? Beautiful
Vladimir,
passage.
Vladimir, could this also be the consciousness of Aditi and Diti?
But yes, of course, right. Aditi and Diti, night and dawn. But night and dawn are closer to us. Aditi and Diti are the fundamental deities, goddesses who manifest. By the way, regarding night, also there is so much in Savitri and in the Rig Veda. Night is not just one night. There are several nights. There is a deeper night. There is inconscient night, and there is a starry night, as Sri Aurobindo speaks about it, closer to us, in which we are which we are illumining with our light. The night which is full of stars and light. She is shining brilliant with the light. Yeah? And there is a darker night which has no light in it. Blind darkness. It's a deeper night. There are many passages. Maybe I will just attach this article for you with all the quotations and references in case you like to look into it. This is the most inspiring reading of these two mothers of Agni. They are two mothers. They are feeding him, and Agni grows by them both. Two of them are feeding him. Yes. Night, the dim mask, had grown a wonderful face. This is from Savitri. Yes. So what is interesting that they are the weavers who are weaving together the same thread. It's one imagery here from Grit Samadha, but there is another when they alternate, they change, or they vacate the same spot or the same place for each other in time. So Usha moves away and the night is coming, her dark sister, and she occupies the same space, and both of them different in form, but with the same mind, with the same objective. They are constantly moving forward, rotating us forward. This is, I think, the feature which is recognized in the Rig Veda as the time, factor of time, alternation of light and darkness. This vibration, this pulsation is actually the power of time. The time, the Lord of all that blinks. Yes. It's interesting. The time is that Lord of everything which alternates, which is constantly moving forward by this vibration. If vibration is not there, if there is no accumulation of the higher into the lower, there is no time, there is no movement forward. Breathing in and breathing out, night and day. It's a constant, ongoing 1, 2, 1, 2. Rhythm, the dynamic truth, dynamically manifesting the truth in time. If this count would not be there, 1, 2, 1, 2, then there would be nothing else. There would be only light. There would be no darkness. All right, and now we are coming to the number 7. Daivya hotara prathama vidushtara riju yakshatach samricha papushtara devan yajantau ritutha samanjato nabha prathivya adisanushu trishu. The 2 divine priests of the call. The first, the full in wisdom and stature, offer by the illumining word the straight thing in us, sacrificing to the gods in season. In season means changing time. They reveal them in light in the navel of the earth and on the 3 peaks of heaven. We do not know who these 2 priests are, 2 divine hotars. There is no explanation. Sayana gives his own explanation. I just put here from Sayana. He says that these 2 hotars are Parthiva Antarikshyaw. They are in the earth and Antariksha, because they are coming from heaven, so the 2 flames were kindled. One Agni was kindled also on earth and in Antariksha. And I believe this is not totally so. I will kind of argue with Sayana in this case. But why I think it is not totally so, because there are other hymns which are mentioning, like Havir Dahani. There is a hymn by Vivasvat, by Aditya in the 10th mandala. I think I opened it for us to look into. Yes, Vivasvan Aditya 10:13, and in this hymn, Havirdhane, two foundations of offering. He mentions 2. Actually, it's interesting that it is the Vivasvat himself, the Lord of the Sun, who is involved in the darkness. He mentions about 2 foundations of our offering. One is heavenly offering, another is earthly or inconscient offering. So there are 2 flames or 2 sources of truth or light or divine. One is above, another is below involved. And there are 2 foundations of our offering. It is through them, Havir. Havir is from who, to call, to invoke, to offer, the same hotar, and they are in dual. So in this case, if I think of it, so I think in those terms that these 2 divine hotars who are first are these 2 fundamental divine presences in us. One is above, to which we aspire, and other is below, which aspires to this above. There are 2 sources, or 2 divine presences in us, or 2 divine sons. One is uninvolved, another is involved. One is Surya, the 7th son of Aditi, and the other is Vivasvat, the eighth son of Aditi, who is involved, who was stolen by the Asuras and put into the darkness. So these two are the two divine hotars. Why they are hotars? They are invokers of the divine. Yes, they are invoking all the forces from above and from below to join the sacrifice. One is calling, other is answering, as it were. The idea that these are the Antariksha and Prithvi Agni, but why they are called then Daivya, the divine, the heavenly hotars, doesn't fit. And if you look at this previous verse of heaven and earth, of Usha and Nakta, of the dawn and night, and dawn and night represents exactly these two locations. So it is very natural from the light of the Supreme and from the darkness of the Supreme to arrive at two hotars who are located in the darkness and in the light. Yeah? In the transcendental realm and involved. And we have this duality in us. It's quite interesting. And duality inbuilt in our own nature. One is the psychic being in us, which is involved divine. The spark of Agni. Agni is that involved divine. It is that which is flaming from within the darkness, the immortal among mortals, the quintessential presence of earth. Yes, earth has within itself inbuilt the divine flame, and that divine flame is rising to heaven, calling to heaven, to heavenly light, to heavenly hotar, priest. So there are two priests who are involved in this sacrifice. One is involved, a psychic being in the heart, flame in the heart, and other is the presence from above, which answers to this call. Once they are becoming one, as we know, they become one. Mother describes this, or Sri Aurobindo describes this in the book of Yoga, describing the yoga of Savitri, when these two, when the psychic discovered its own counterpart, divine counterpart, and rushed into it, and they became one. So they merge at the end. These two hotars become one at the end. This duality, this split on the inconscient presence of the divine and superconscient is finally resolved. And this resolution is the sacrifice. Yeah? We find it everywhere in the Rig Veda. It is Agni and Indra, if you will. Indra is answering to Agni's call, yes. Indra represents Vishnu, Agni represents Rudra or Shiva. So Shiva carries on his shoulders the whole universe, and Agni is his son, flaming upward, calling, the divine calling to the divine. In this gap, in this antariksha, in this space between heaven and earth, the whole sacrifice is taking place. The time is managing this antariksha. The time is pulling out, spreading out all the elements of the divine manifestation here, making them visible, forming them into the manifestation. So those hidden divine elements which were potential in the divine existence, they become formed here, forged and revealed in time. And for this we need two hotars. At the end we realize that actually that hotar which was calling the divine from above is actually the divine from above. There is only one divine at the end, we realize. This divine which embraces the whole world from all sides. We don't see it because we are within this bubble. Sri Krishna actually explained this in the Gita so beautifully in the chapter 9, I think, where he says that, explains the secret knowledge. He says that Maya tatam idam sarvam, by me all this is spread. Jagat avyaktam murtina, by the me who has no form, giving form to the world. Matsthani sarva bhutani, all the beings are staying in me. Nachaham teshu avastitach, but I am not staying in them. This is something, oops, we thought that he is here, but he says, no, I'm not here. They are staying in me, not I am in them. And then he continues, Nachamatstani bhutani, they are not staying even in me. Pashyame yogam aishwaram, look at my divine yoga. Bhuta bharit, the Bhuta Bharit, the carrier of all the beings, Nacha Bhutasthach, but not the one who stays within Bhutas, Mama Atma, myself, Bhuta Bhavanach, supporting all the beings. Now, this myself supports all the beings, carries all the beings, but not me. And this is something interesting, that Supreme, in his pure sense, that Supreme in which this bubble of the world is actually not fully involved. It is his self who is involved, his being involved, but not him per se. His Sat, Chitananda, is representing him in his being, consciousness, bliss, but not he as the Supreme. Yeah? It's his self carrying the whole. It's his self embodying the whole, holding all manifestation inside. So if we can imagine that the light is everywhere, above and below and beyond, so we can see immediately these three Godheads. Yes, from above we see Vishnu, from below Shiva, and from beyond or from the depth, Brahaspati. These are the three representatives of the divine, named in different ways of their functions, because they will maintain and accomplish this magical manifestation of the divine in time and space. They are supporters, the divine support from above, from below, and from within. Yeah. So why I'm saying all this so long, because I want to justify the two hotars, two divine hotars, as above, so below. Yeah. The divine is above and below. And these are two priests which are maintaining and continuing this magical transformation or manifestation of the divine in time and space. They are first, they are original, Prathama, Vidushtara, they are the most charged with knowledge, they know all. Riju, directly, Yakshatach, sacrifice, or should sacrifice. Vapushtara, the most beautiful, charged with bliss. Samricha, totally with the rich Rig Veda, with the flaming word, with the word expressing the divine, with the word expressing the divine consciousness. Word is this, the expression, self-expression of consciousness. Divan Yajantao, sacrificing the gods here, Ritudha, according to the time, to the season. They are working in time now. Samanjatah Nabha Prithivya, in the navel of the earth. Adhi Sanu Shutrishu, and in the triple and on the three peaks of heaven, in the navel of earth, and the three peaks of heaven, navel of earth. Interesting, huh? The center, the core of our earth is flame, is the divine flame in Trishu, Sanushu, on the three peaks, or even above the three peaks of heaven. Adi could be above, even above our triple heaven. So it is pointing out exactly to this. In earth and in heaven, the two hotars, dawn and night, were mentioned before in duality. Now two hotars are mentioned in duality. Yeah? So this link is important. One verse follows the other, and they give this sense, or they kind of suggest the meaning by location of the verse. When I read it first time, I immediately saw this. It was so inevitably following that when you understand who are these night and dawn, and then you come to two hotars, one is in the navel of the earth and other is above triple heaven, then it's quite obvious who they are. And nothing is said about Antariksha here. So Science is a little bit artificial. He wants to just avoid this kind of problem. And now we come to the verse number 8. Saraswati sadhayanti dhyam na ila devi bharati vishvaturti tisro devih svadhaya barhih edam achidram panto sharanam nishadyam. May Saraswati, affecting our thought, and goddess Ila and Bharati, who carries all to their goal, the three goddesses sit on our altar seat and guard by the self-law of things our gapeless house of refuge. Achidram, without a gape, without a crack. There is no gap. Gapless. Gapless house of refuge. Saraswati leading us to the goal of our concentration, Dhyam, and Ila goddess, and Bharati crossing all over. The three goddesses, by their own self-ruling, having sat in or occupied the space prepared for them at the altar, should fill it, creating uninterrupted protection within us. I am kind of going in a little bit into the etymological translation, like pantu, may they fill us and protect by filling, because root pa has two meanings of drinking and protecting. And if you combine these two, you will understand that drinking is actually filling oneself with, and then by being filled, you are becoming protected. There is no gap in you. Interestingly, that even achidram is mentioned here, gapless. Gapless place, because you are filled with their presence. So once we are filled with their presence, we can't be attacked by other forces because they are there. They are our very substance. So Saraswati sadhayanti dhyamnach, our thought, our concentration, our higher mind, leading us or making us succeed in a higher concentration. Ila Devi and Ila the goddess, Bharati Vishwaturti, which carries over everything, which can help everything to cross over from one state to the other, to the divine state. Tisro Devi, these three rivers, three currents of higher energy of consciousness, Svadhaya, according to their own wish or their own establishment, by themselves, not forced by anyone. They are doing it by themselves at their own, how to say, grace. Yeah? They extend their grace. They do it because they want it. Svadhaya. Barhich edam. On this barhich, on this grass, on this space which we prepare for them inside ourselves, clean ourselves. Pantu achidram, may they fill and protect this space, make it gapless. Sharanam nishadya. Yeah? Achidram sharanam, the gapless protection, pantu, they should protect nishadya, having sat at the altar. The three goddesses, by their own self-ruling, having sat in, occupied the space prepared for them at the altar, should fill it, creating uninterrupted protection within us. Who are these Saraswati, Ila, and Mahi or Bharati? Usually they are in this order, Ila, Saraswati, and Mahi, or Ila, Saraswati, and Bharati, three rivers. And we spoke about this not once, yes, and most probably you know everything about it until now, that these are the rivers which Sri Aurobindo started his interpretation of the Veda. He saw these three rivers in Sukshma Lipi, written in the subtle world, when he was reading Rig Veda, and he understood that it is all about this, about these currents of the higher truth entering like nymphas or like muses, entering and charging us with higher consciousness, that we get inspired. They inspire us. They bring in the spirit of the higher realm. So that's what is inspiring. So we start vibrating with the heavenly vibration. These currents enter those rivers portals which we mentioned before. They open wide the entry to the heavenly realms. They connect us, inspire us to reach to heaven. They bring heaven to us, actually. There is the whole passage here on, I attached to this hymn for you to read from The Secret of the Veda, if you would like, on these three rivers. The psychological significance of Saraswati carries with it a psychological significance for the whole symbol of the Vedic waters. The rivers have a symbolic sense in later Indian thought, as for instance Ganges, Yamuna, Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati, and their confluence are, in the tantric imagery, yogic symbols, and they are used, though in a different way, in yogic symbolism generally. We know about this Ganga, yes, the symbolism of Ganga and Yamuna and Saraswati. The whole Saraswati region was discovered from the satellites, yes. They saw the valleys, Saraswati Valley. It just dried up. There was a river, real river. Saraswati is not only connected with other rivers, but with other goddesses who are plainly psychological symbols, and especially with Bharati and Ila. Interestingly, that the other four rivers, which are transcendental to these three, who are original four, they are not mentioned, they are not named in the Veda. Only these three, Ila, Saraswati, and Mahi, and these are the three streams of the supermind. Ila is revelation, Saraswati is this modulation of one in many in one, and Bharati is the vastness of Mahi, which manifests everything in its own individual way. So interestingly, that four above rivers, Satchit, Tapas, Ananda, are not mentioned by names, but only these three kind of supramental rivers, currents are mentioned. In the later Puranic forms of worship, Saraswati is the goddess of speech, of learning, and of poetry, and Bharati is one of her names. But in the Veda, Bharati and Saraswati are different deities. Bharati is also called Mahi, the large, great, or vast. The three Ila, Mahi, or Bharati, and Saraswati are associated together in a constant formula in those hymns of invocation in which the gods are called by Agni to sacrifice. Ila, Saraswati, Mahi, Tisro, Devich, Mayo Bhuvach, full of mayas of the delight. Barhich Siddhanto Asredhach. This is from another Apri Sukta. May Ila, Saraswati, and Mahi, three goddesses who give birth to the bliss, that's how Sri Aurobindo translates, not full of bliss, but who give birth to the bliss, take their place on the sacrificial seat, they who stumble not, or who come not to hurt, or who do not hurt. The epithet means, I think, they in whom there is no false movement with its evil consequences, duritam, no stumbling into pitfalls of sin and error. So you can read all this passage. I will not read to you, not to take your time. You will read yourself and figure out what are these three rivers, what they really mean and represent. It's worth mentioning here that all Sri Aurobindo's journey with the Rig Veda started with these three rivers. Ila, Saraswati, Mahi. Ila represents the divine revelation, Saraswati the divine Shruti, inspiration, the word, and Mahi the divine vastness, or Viveka. So Drishti, Shruti, and Viveka, the three major components of the supermind. When these three are dynamically revealed, we have all the possible expressions. We have the seeing, hearing, and touch, the three major faculties of consciousness, three major accesses to reality. Yeah. Seeing, Ila, the direct evidence of the truth, revelation. Drishti, Saraswati is hearing, Shruti, the word, the inspiration, inspiring knowledge, knowledge which inspires you to find the form to the truth. And finally, the touch, Viveka, the distinction of the form in a meaningful way. Here I will stop and open to the discussion. I'm already taking too much time, I guess. Stop projecting, and if you have something to say or to ask, to clarify, Apri Suktam. If you compare all of them, you will see how regular rishis are about them. The same format throughout. I know it's too high, too vast, too big, especially two avatars, heaven and earth, and dawn and night, and
Vladimir, I had this thing, observation or question or whatever. Uh, these are very mystical things, right? How
absolutely.
far is it justified to apply our mind and brain in even trying to understand these things? Is it sensible?
Well, it's like poetry, high, uplifting poetry. The vibration of these forces coming in, and they start vibrating in you. They kind of become purifying of all those clogged elements in us, which are operating within very narrow realm of reality. They are widening the scope. This is a kind of a surgery, the divine surgery. Certain elements are cut off, certain elements are, this chemical radiation, for cancer. We get the radiation and suddenly the disease is gone, half of it. So, and you're healthy again to see the truth. I think they are more not to explain so much, though explanation is also there, part of it, but to act upon us. If we accept it, for me, it is a delight. I don't know. I immediately understand everything what they want to say. I relate to it so naturally that I am just wondering how else we could not could take it otherwise. It's not some kind of physical reality, or it is also physical reality. We also sleep every night, by the way. We are also falling unconscious every time when we rise in consciousness. Did you notice whenever you rise very high, you will have to fall? We spoke about this before. And this falling is a very difficult thing. First, you fall really, and then you regret that you fall, and then you blame yourself and so on. But then later you start understanding that you must fall. Yeah? You cannot stay only uplifted. So you have to bring that light into the darkness. So then you become conscious in doing it. You are not falling anymore. You're falling, but you're not falling per se. Yes, you don't lose yourself. That's all to say. You're holding onto that light, and you're falling. You're now fallen. Yes, and you start consciously taking all those lower elements to offer them to the higher light. And so this happens later in life. When you do this for a long time, you fall many times, and then rise again and again and again. And then after some time, you just change. Say, I don't want to do that again. I want to stay conscious when I fall. So this alternation of day and light and day and night is constantly ongoing. We are in the night. We actually agreed to come to the night, yes? We agreed to plunge into the night. We agreed to take unconscious elements into ourselves. It's our body, is this unconscious being. It's totally, we are not aware of its functionality. We are not aware of what is happening to us in the vaster realms around us. We discussed yesterday in our meeting about the forces which are working with this physical body. Yes? Why should we live, speak, go somewhere, do something if the forces are not there using the physical body? Is it the physical body that needs to go to work? No, it's not physical. There is a mental body there with all mental dogmas and mental forces. There is a vital body there with all the vital inclinations, forces, desires, fears, and many more universal forces which are triggering them or pulling the strings and want to influence us and want to live through us. We are the whole universe, yeah, the focal point of the universe. All the forces try to come in and to possess us. There's some divine element in us which is so precious for all these forces. This, what I'm saying, is a very kind of down-to-earth talk, is inspired by this reading. It comes from here. It is my thinking now. Yeah? But it was inspired by the Veda. The Veda tuned it into this vision. It is very natural now to think this way after this text and with this text. So I'm coming back to this text. It's very natural now. It's not unnatural because the scope has widened and many things became clearer. And it is not that it's amazing. It's not something like, it's very practical, and it is not only physical. And it is still physical. Amazing.
I wanted to ask Vladimir, the other day you said two things that have to happen sort of simultaneously. One is that we have to realize that the divine is in everything. And the second is that we have to reject that which is undivine.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that we really have not much knowledge about because we do not know what is divine and what is undivine. We can only guess and it may even change from time to time. So are these two things, what we just learned in this verse and the concept of rejecting the undivine while seeing that everything is divine, is there, I sort of sense a kind of relation between these two things?
Yeah. Very
It
nice.
shapes it shapes the consciousness, I think.
Yeah.
This kind of reading, what we just read, it shapes the consciousness to the extent that it develops the relationship between the two things that you just mentioned. The knowledge of the divine and what to reject and what is divine, what is undivine. This consciousness developed through the Vedas. The Vedas is a development in consciousness. And therefore, I think the consciousness comes to a point, it evolves a little more, where you see, hear.
I get it. Hmm.
Yeah, I
I get
think
it.
so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Vladimir can say more on it.
No, please. I want to hear your thoughts. It's so important that you tune yourself into. We all are here to tune ourselves into this new framework. Yeah? When Rishi says about two sisters who are working the weavers, they are pushing the same weft forward, our thread, both of them. We change our view on the darkness, yeah. We look at the darkness very differently, in a creative way. We recognize the presence and the need of and presence of the divine in the work of the darkness. Wow. That it kind of makes us free from this mental narrow judgment of what is good and what is not, we look differently, we become differently, we function differently from now on. Yes? For a while, of course, we fall back. Our mind comes back and demands again judgment, that narrow judgment. But slowly we get out of that trap, and we are becoming capable. And interestingly, there was a quotation which I didn't read, where Sri Aurobindo says that the divine portals are open to those who give themselves to this, who seek the truth. Yeah? If this is the search for the truth, we want to know what is what. Yes? What is this darkness and light? What is going on, really? We don't want the judgment. I don't want to know, to have the knowledge which will explain everything, and then what? And then what? I want the truth. I don't want the knowledge which explains everything. No? I'm not looking for an explanation. I want the understanding. Explanation is not enough. When everything is explained, nothing is known, says Sri Aurobindo. I will often quote this. When everything is explained, nothing is known. This is the funny part. So I don't want that explanation when nothing is known. I want knowledge, understanding. And knowledge is a state of being where you could see yourself and find your own answers in your own way, because you have that presence in you, or that higher consciousness of your own in you now activated, so you can create your worlds, your words, your explanations. Yeah? You create a new world around you. That's what we are supposed to be. We are supposed to manifest the Supreme in the individual form. Well, this is much greater than any other form of knowledge. Yeah. Even a small drop, as Sri Krishna says, of this knowledge is giving such a great relief. Yeah. Robin is thinking also something. I can see that. Yeah.
The thing is, we have to read these things again and again, you know. I mean, this is only for me at least. This is my first reading of the hymns. I've never read them before. So this is my first reading. So one has to read it and make oneself familiar with it. Absolutely. More and more. So and more, that you know how
to know by heart. And knowing by heart, repeat them. Every time it will come like a flaming word which ignites your consciousness. I remember we had these, long sessions in IPI for the decade. Every week we met in ashram with ashramites, Kumud Ben, Kusum, everyone, Matthias. So we had a special place for studies of the Veda, and 2 hours a week we were kind of going through hymns and hymns and hymns. And every time I was going on the motorbike from Pondicherry to Auroville in the night, these hymns are humming and humming. They can't let you cannot sleep even, this rhythm, Abodhi Hota Yajataya Devan. And you can't stop it, and it's not only the meaning, it's also the power of some kind. It's a flaming word which ignites the whole consciousness, and you can't leave it, you can't go away. It's such a power. if we understand. Yeah? If we don't, it is something else. It's a form which also gives a very good state of consciousness, but it's not the same. We need to understand the language. Language has to be ours. It has to be articulated by you. That's why we start studying Sanskrit. Because if you don't articulate it through yourself, if you take only outer form, it's not the same. It has to be your articulation. And I'm glad that you started this journey with the Rig Veda, because Rig Veda is the foundation.
Thanks to you. We started
Well,
the journey. Thanks to you. Yes, you offered the class, so
Yeah,
we
thanks.
we
Correct.
took it.
Thanks to you for
Yes.
inspiring us.
thanks to Rigvedic rishis and Sri Aurobindo who brought this meaning into Rig Veda. Can you imagine without meaning? What would we do with Rig Veda? It's a nice poetry and that's it. But now we see that there is a deeper sense, where there is a need for us to learn it, to learn the meaning, the Veda, the knowledge, not to learn the text only, but the meaning. And Savitri comes also very beautifully in all these passages. It was the hour before the gods awake, yeah? Across the path of the divine event, the huge foreboding mind of night alone in her unlit temple of eternity lay stretched, immobile, upon silence march. Night is everywhere, yes? The night. He starts with the night and ends with the night. You remember how he ends. Night splendid, with the moon dreaming in heaven in silver peace, possessed her luminous reign. This is lesser night, a luminous night. She brooded through her stillness on a thought, deep guarded by the mystic falls of light, and in her bosom nursed a greater dawn. This is the end of Savitri. Now, Savitri is totally Vedic. It starts with Vedic symbol dawn, and it ends with the night, who in her bosom nursed a greater dawn. So you can read the first line and the last, and you will have the whole meaning.
It's very strange, Vladimir, that you mentioned this, because it recalled something to my mind. The first time I read Savitri, I was actually stationed in California. And every day while going from my house to the office, I used to read several pages of it. And what struck me, first reading it was, what struck me was that the book seemed to end where it had begun. And when you just said this last thing, I suddenly recalled, yes, this is what I had thought about at that time. So many years ago, this was actually.
Yeah. There's something subconscious in us, something brooding there, something is searching for the truth. And when we recognize in us some element which is searching for the truth, it's such a delight, I'm also part of this, It's not the outer mind, it's not that kind of curiosity thing. It's something more fundamental. And we are all having this within us. It has to be only revealed, and we have to become more aware of that presence within us. And these texts are doing it to us. They are kind of helping us to remove those veils which we build over time. Great. Okay, I will close with mantra. Om Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Yeah, those who are Sanskrit students, please send me your writings. Make a photo or scan. I want to see them, yes? I'm kind of storing them there. Those who are writing. Those who are not writing, doesn't matter. Don't send me anything. And yeah, Deepti, you wanted to have Sanskrit. I was wondering. You don't want? We put you online, or you don't have time.
Vladimir, no, Vladimir, I want it very badly, but the same Wednesdays, I'm actually in another session.
Okay,
It's
so
a
it will
year
be
long.
recorded there in case you want to pursue yourself. So all the form will be available, so you can do it
Oh,
independently.
wonderful. Okay.
Okay, so see you. Namaste all, and have a nice day.